And now, another good example of another public apology would be Anastasia, which in this case it was made as a public apology to those who are not satisfied with the past 4 films in which Don Bluth directed, consisting of Rockadoodle, Thumbelina, Troll in Central Park, and The Pebble Penguin. Hear me out. For those who don't know who Don Bluth is, he is a legendary animator who started out at Disney, and then after seeing that films like Robin Hood and The Rescuers didn't live up to be like Snow and the Seven Dwarfs, Pinocchio, Dumbo, Bambi, Cinderella, nor Peter Pan, this is where Don Bluth and 17 other Disney animators, including Gary Goldman and John Pomeroy, all decided to quit their jobs at Disney and run their own independent animation studio. Ever since when Bluth, Goldman, and Pomeroy, as well as the other animators left Disney, all we get from Don Bluth is hit after hit after hit, after miss after miss after miss after miss after miss, after hit after miss.
Don Bluth hates you. Don Bluth hates you. Don Bluth hates you.
Now, before I get a hate mail for saying that, at least let me explain on why Rockadoodle, Thumbelina, A Troll in Central Park, and The Pebble Penguin all failed both critically and financially. Have you guys even heard of the Disney Renaissance? Now, for those who haven't, the Disney Renaissance was a certain time period when Disney was being such a money grabber when it comes to their animated features. Not that Disney is trying to make films just for the sake of money, it's just the fact that, well, they all had good stories to be told. Disney films like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Lion King, Pocahontas, Toy Story, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Mulan, A Bug's Life, Tarzan, and Toy Story 2 were all box office hits. Whereas non-Disney films like Rockadoodle, Thumbelina, A Troll in Central Park, The Pebble and the Penguin, An American Tail, Five Goes West, We're Back at Dinosaur Story, Walto, All Dogs Go to Heaven, and its sequel, All Dogs Go to Heaven 2, Bebe's Kids, The Swan Princess, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, Tom and Jerry the Movie, Jetsons the Movie, Barney's Great Adventure, Wired, and The Hudsucker Proxy were all box office bombs. Now, another good example of a public apology would be Walt Disney's Cinderella, which in this case it would have been a public apology to those who are not satisfied with the package films from the 1940s. In 1937, Walt Disney released his first ever animated feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It was an incredible success. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is Adolf Hitler's favorite film, next to King Kong. In 1940, Disney released Pinocchio. It was a major success when it first came out over here in America. As for In the Eyes of Europe, Pinocchio had to be delayed due to World War II. During that same year, Disney released Fantasia. Fantasia is the first film to use stereophonic sound. Fantasia also introduced Fantasound. Anyways, Fantasia got lots of critical acclaim for being different. But as for the box office, it didn't do so well due to World War II. In 1941, Disney released Dumbo. Dumbo is another great success. In 1942, Disney released Bambi. Bambi got a lot of critical acclaim, but as for the box office, well, it didn't do so well as there was no box office in Europe at that time. After Bambi was released, Disney was only allowed to make nothing but World War II shorts and package films. For those who don't know what a package film is, it's a film that features a series of shorts called segments. A prime example of that is Fantasia. During that same year, Saludos Amigos was released. In 1945, The Three Caballeros was released. In 1946, Make My Music was released. In 1947, Fun and Fancy Free was released. In 1948, Melody Time was released. In 1949, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad was released. As Walt Disney made the package films, Disney lost a lot of money. In 1950, Cinderella was released, and oh boy, it was a major success. And because of all the success Cinderella got, it got 2 direct-to-video sequels, a live-action remake that's not that bad, but it could have been worse. Disney could have given her Maleficent's horns. And appearances in crossover media like Sophie the First, House of Mouse, Once Upon a Time, and Kingdom Hearts. Originally, there was supposed to be a TV series called Cinderella Stories, but then for some reason it got cancelled and got morphed into Cinderella 2 Dreams Come True. Now, another Disney classic that's also considered to be a public apology would be The Little Mermaid, which in this case it would have been a public apology to those who are not satisfied with any of the Disney films released in the 70s and 80s.
What was that?
Hear me out. In 1966, Walt Disney died. In 1967, The Jungle Book was released. When Walt Disney died, not only was Disney working on The Jungle Book, but also Disney was working on The Happiest Millionaire, Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, The Country Bears Jamboree, The Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, and The Florida Project, in which you guys may know it today more as Walt Disney World. In 1970, The Aristocats was released. It was the last animated Disney film approved by Walt Disney himself. It was a box office success. In 1973, Robin Hood was released. It bombed at the box office. In 1977, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh was released. Everybody loved the film except Ruth Hill Vickers. Vickers hated all the animated Disney movies more for the fact that the stories weren't faithful towards the original books. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is the last movie that Walt Disney himself has ever given his personal touch upon. During that same year, The Rescuers was released. The Rescuers was the first ever animated Disney movie without Walt Disney himself being involved whatsoever. The Rescuers was a box office success. In 1979, Don Bluth and 17 other Disney animators quit Disney to make their own independent animation studio. In 1981, The Fox and the Hound was released. The Fox and the Hound was a success at the box office, however, critics like Leonard Maltin didn't like it, whereas critics like Time Machine, Roger Ebert, and Morgan Ledger all did like it. In 1984, Paramount executives Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg became CEO and chairman, respectively, of the Walt Disney Company, and Warner Brothers executive Frank Wells became president of the Walt Disney Company. In 1985, The Black Cauldron was released. The Black Cauldron was the first film for the following things: the first animated Disney film to ever get a PG rating, the first Disney film to ever be shot in widescreen since Sleeping Beauty, the first Disney film to ever have a closing credit since Alice in Wonderland, the first animated Disney film to ever use CGI, the first animated Disney film to not have any musical numbers whatsoever, and it's also the first ever Disney film to ever show the Walt Disney Pictures logo. Anyways, Disney had to edit The Black Cauldron twice in order to avoid it from getting it either PG-13 or an R rating. When The Black Cauldron was first released, it was a box office failure. The Black Cauldron got overshadowed by the Care Bears movie. But on a brighter note, it did get a cult following. But the sad part is that it didn't get a home video release until over a decade later. Well, at least it also did air into Disney, that's for sure. In 1986, The Great Mouse Detective was released. For those who don't watch animation look back, if you guys still think that the first ever animated Disney film to ever use CGI goes to The Great Mouse Detective, then you guys should all know by now that the first animated Disney film to ever use CGI goes to The Black Cauldron, not The Great Mouse Detective! This is just like about, okay, then imagine if you're a Star Wars fan who grew up in either the 1990s, the 2000s, or the 2010s, right? Anyways, you may think that Boba Fett's first appearance would go for either Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope, or Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, which really, you Star Wars fans should all know by now that Boba Fett's first appearance actually goes to the Star Wars Holiday Special. Anyways, back on to The Great Mouse Detective. The Big Ben fight scene was inspired by the clock tower fight scene from the Castle of Cagliostro. When The Great Mouse Detective first came out, it did better both critically and financially. However, it did get overshadowed by Don Bluth's An American Tail. In 1998, Oliver and Company was released. I think I'm gonna let Adamat fill me in with this part.
When it was released, it wasn't alone. It was released the same day of Don Bluth's The Land Before Time. Both films got good reviews from critics for the same reasons, but financially, it was The Land Before Time that earned more. That's the time when Disney realized that Bluth means business.
Anyways, in 1989, The Little Mermaid was released. It was a major success. It even got overshadowed All Dogs Go to Heaven due to the fact that Steven Spielberg had absolutely no involvement with this film whatsoever, and Wired. It was just all thanks to the fact that NBC won't even let anyone use any SNL skits that John Belushi himself did. And this is why I would never do name changing for projects like Epic Battles whatsoever. Anyways, back onto The Little Mermaid. Because of all the success that The Little Mermaid got, it led up into getting a TV series from the early 90s, a direct-to-video sequel, a direct-to-video prequel, 3 video game adaptations, one for both the Nintendo Entertainment System and the original Game Boy, one for the Sega Genesis, and one for the PC called Ariel Story Studio. 3 comic book adaptations, 2 from Disney, 1 from Marvel, a bunch of book adaptations, a bunch of theme park attractions, a musical, and a bunch of appearances in crossover media, including House of Mouse, Once Upon a Time, Sophia the First, Next Disneyland Adventures, Kingdom Hearts, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, and of course, Kingdom Hearts 2. Oh boy, what a mess up Square Enix did with Kingdom Hearts 2. Hopefully whenever Ariel does get to create Lego Dimensions, they don't go on that same route again as what Kingdom Hearts 2 did. Anyways, another Disney classic that's also considered to be a public apology would be The Princess and the Frog, in which in this case it was made as a public apology for another dark age Disney had. Hear me out. In 2000, Disney released Fantasia 2000. Fantasia 2000 is the first ever film to enter the millennium. It is also the first film to be presented on IMAX. When Fantasia 2000 was released, it didn't do so well at the box office, but it did get positive reviews from critics. During that same year, Dinosaur was released. Dinosaur is the first ever computer animated Disney movie without Pixar's involvement whatsoever. Originally, there was supposed to be no dialogue at all. Just a narrator, so we don't have another Don Bluth's The Land Before Time. But no! Disney CEO Michael Eisner insisted to add in dialogue to bring in more money. Dinosaur is a box office success. However, not everyone enjoyed Dinosaur. Roger Ebert gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, saying that he enjoyed the visuals, but unfortunately he didn't like the idea of the animals talking. Morgan Ledger of Vaulting did say that it's enjoyable, despite its flaws.
As for the film, I can see it having a future among viewers. Despite a modest financial success at the box office, its reputation has gotten better over the years, to the point where it's gotten sort of a cult following. And I know this sounds strange, but for a film like this, I can kind of see it getting sort of a 3D reissue. No, wait, hear me out. I know people are getting tired of the gimmick, and Disney is trying to get viewers back by re-releasing some of their classics in the format. But looking at it again, I can definitely see this one working really well in 3D, considering the depth of the world and how stunning it looks. And besides, if you're gonna put your animated classics on the big screen that way, why not things like this? Oh well. Either way, despite the flaws, Dinosaur is worth the recommendation.
During that same year, The Emperor's New Groove was released. It did get lots of critical acclaim, but unfortunately, it didn't do so good at the box office. In 2001, Atlantis: The Lost Empire was released. It didn't do so well at the box office. It even got overshadowed by DreamWorks' Shrek. As for the critics, though, well, it got mixed reviews from critics. Critics like the Washington Post and US Today didn't like it, whereas critics like Roger Ebert, the New York Times, the Nostalgia Critic, and I all do. In 2002, Lilo and Stitch was released. It was an incredible success, and because of its success, it would even lead up to 3 direct-to-video sequels, a TV series that originally aired on Disney Channel, and appearances in crossover media like Kingdom Hearts 2, Kingdom Hearts, Birth by Sleep, and Disney Video 2.0. Lilo and Stitch was the first animated Disney film to ever get an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. During that same year, Treasure Planet was released. Treasure Planet is the first ever film from a major motion picture company to ever be released in both regular theaters and IMAX theaters at the same time. When Treasure Planet was released, it bombed at the box office. Treasure Planet got overshadowed by Blue Skies, Ice Age, and Big Ideas, Jonah, a VeggieTales movie. But on a brighter note, it did get an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature at the same time as Lilo and Stitch did. But both Lilo and Stitch and Treasure Planet sadly lost to Spirited Away. Anyways, in 2003, Brother Bear was released. It did better than Treasure Planet. In 2004, Home on the Range was released. It bombed at the box office. Heck, it even got overshadowed by DreamWorks' Shrek 2. In 2005, Chicken Little was released. It did better at the box office, but it did get mixed reviews from critics. In 2006, Disney bought Pixar. In 2007, Meet the Robinsons was released. It did get positive reviews from the critics, but as for the box office though, it did okay at best. In 2008, Bolt was released. It was a success both critically and financially. In 2009, Disney has finally returned to hand-drawn animation with The Princess and the Frog. It was an incredible success, and because of its success, it led Disney to continue to make more great films, including Tangled, Winnie the Pooh, Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Big Hero 6, Zootopia, and Moana.